Number 5.
And number 4. Together. Number 5, DK Metcalf. Number 4, Jaxon Smith-Njigba.
Wow.
And I'm glad this worked out. It's a happy accident. Didn't plan it this way for both guys to kind of be in the same conversation. But I think they belong together. DK Metcalf is probably still the most talented guy in the team. Just straight up raw talent at any position. Who has more than DK Metcalf?
Spoon be the only one in that conversation.
I'm going to take DK Metcalf in terms of raw talent. Just the ability to run by people, the size, speed, strength combo. I still think DK's the most talented, raw talented guy on the team. And he's been successful. He's been productive. I also think that he's at a point where his emotional responses at times, I think, are worthy of note. The incident last year, a couple of different incidents last year where he was frustrated and he unfortunately lost his temper on the field, took too many penalties, and then rather than accepting the accountability for that when Pete offered it, kind of went in the exact opposite direction.
It's just a board.
It's just a board. It's just a ridiculous thing to say. Mm-hmm. And, beyond that, Brock, you have my personal belief that I think that wide receivers are being overvalued. I think that they're getting too much money, and DK is going to be coming back around here for another payday. At the same, and while he's a really, really, really good player, there's a reason he wasn't in the top 10 receivers group. He's not Jamar Chase. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not in that same category of the absolute elite. Is he a number 1 wideout? Yes. Is he in the top 32? Of course he is. But he's not top 10. And my guess is he's going to probably want to be paid that way. Fast forward to number 4.
Well, hold on one second before we get to Jackson. And it struck me yesterday watching DK and being out there and seeing him and seeing his presence. It is not too dissimilar than Randy Arozarena. A guy that just has different juice than everybody else, or a Julio, right? I mean, Julio is young, and DK is really not young anymore. I mean, he's still, 27? He's got a lot of football left, but it's not as if he's a second or third year player like Julio. He's been around the block, and he's had 1,000-yard seasons and Pro Bowls and everything else. But he's got that edge. Mm-hmm. He's got that entertainment value.
He does.
He got that charisma that you take him out of it and out of that receiver room. It feels and looks that lineup looks really different.
But that's what leads me to number 4 and Jaxon Smith-Njigba, who they drafted in the first round. He's not a third-round pick. This is a first-round pick. Yeah, it was number 20, not number 5. He's a first-round pick. He was drafted more than a round ahead of DK Metcalf, right? DK was the last pick of the second round. Mm-hmm. This guy was the 20th pick of the first round.
Tyler was a third-rounder. Yep.
So, Jackson is the guy who was drafted highest of any of the receivers in that room. The expectation is that you and eventually become one of those guys, one of those elite. And there's a lot of folks predicting that Jaxon Smith-Njigba is going to have a breakout second season. I think they're right. I hope they're right. And I think they may be right. But I think that at the same time, if you're going to say breakout, number 1 pick, etc., at some point you've got to be that, or else you're complicating the other guy who wants to be paid like a number 1 wide receiver and, is good, but isn't at the elite end of that.
I'll use another word that Mike McDonald has used a little bit, and it's a little bit more in the trenches with I need to feel. Mm-hmm. I need to feel these guys move. I need to feel that violence. I need to feel it. Just, receivers easiest to do, right? They're usually out there isolated. They're usually in space. It's easy from the berm to watch them. You can watch them in one-on-ones. You can watch them in 7-on-7s. You can watch them in team. 2 hours yesterday, did you feel Jaxon Smith-Njigba on the field? You felt DK.
He had the biggest catch of the day.
Jackson did?
Yeah.
Yep.
He did. Right? I mean, he's the one time the offense scored yesterday, the long play, the big play in it was a long pass to Jackson over the middle.
Mm-hmm. That, to me, is like year 2. Year 1, wrecked a little bit in the preseason. Year 1, wrecked by a wrist injury that he had to battle through and come back from, and he wasn't right with a broken bone in his wrist for, the first half of the season. Mm-hmm. And then the second half, in that Monday Night Football game, that's a game-changing, difference-making, top 10, top 15 kind of receiver play that you run by a veteran corner and you catch it.
So those are 2 guys with a lot to prove. DK's trying to prove that he deserves this next huge contract. And JSN is trying to prove, I think, that he's a number 1 wide receiver whether he's playing in the slot or outside or whatever, that he's a guy who was worth being drafted in the first round and can show that the offense can revolve around him as well.
These receivers got a little bit of pride, got a little bit of that flair, got a little bit typically all around the league.
Let's also add this. They're getting a passing offense guy. I mean, the one thing we know about Ryan Grubb, not that he can't run the ball, because we know he can, but that he got the most out of his receivers group last year.
First round, second round, third round.
Pretty good.
Top 10, second round, third round.
And I don't know that they were considered that heading into it with Ryan Grubb.
When they took him over, when he started with that, nope talent. But he had to maximize them, put him in position for success, and DK and Jaxon will have plenty of opportunity to do it.
Going to be a fun one. That's today's version, number 4 and 5 on our most intriguing countdown list. Just 3 to go.